Hello, my friends. It's John Petersen from the Arlington Institute, and we welcome you to What's Up. We're coming to you from Berkeley Springs, West Virginia, our little resort town down the street from Washington and Baltimore. We get together like this, Gregg, Braden, and I, every couple of weeks to just have an informal, unscripted, anticipated kind of chat to see what in the world either of us is thinking about. And so, Gregg, how are you, my friend?
John, I'm doing really well. I can't believe the year is passing so quickly, man. This year is flying by for me anyway.
Yeah.
And I like these conversations because we get to go off script and toss around some big ideas. And I think our viewers, if they've never been with us before, this originated from when John would pick me up at the airport and drive me for a couple hours to Berkeley Springs to do an event. And we said, wouldn't it be cool if we could share these conversations that we would have in the vehicle online? So that's what we're doing. So, John, I'm looking at two things here. I'm a systems thinker, and I tend to look at the big picture. Geoengineering is very much on my mind these days. I've got a film crew coming here to New Mexico to interview me for a really beautiful documentary that's going to be rolling out before the end of this year on geoengineering. And it certainly is in the public mind right now because of the White House report that was released June 30th. That report was the result of a congressionally mandated study to explore 5 different ways to block natural sunlight from reaching the Earth. So that report was just released. One of the interesting things that I found, John, I'm going to bring in another component to this, is a lot of the geoengineering is being run by artificial intelligence. And that brings a really interesting component into this. And I'm going to draw upon my experience and expertise during the Cold War years as a senior computer systems designer. When we were building systems back in those days, this is in the 80s, up through the end of the Cold War, up to 1990. One of the phenomenon that computer scientists have found is that when you bring computer arrays together in a very certain way, there are phenomenon that occur that cannot be explained by the array itself.
They start talking in languages that nobody can understand.
Exactly. So when I'm thinking about this from my systems perspective, what if the AI is the alien intelligence? What if building our artificially intelligent networks, those arrays actually open the door, or the portal, as some people would say, to information coming into our world from other intelligences that are obviously working to create a very different Earth. So the backdrop of this, we know that the geoengineering is changing the planet. And we know that if we were to meet the goals of the World Economic Forum, the United Nations for CO2 and temperature, it's not a planet that we want to live on. It would be the planet that we saw during the middle of the Pleistocene. And I don't want to be redundant. I'm saying that for people that may not be privy to our earlier conversations. So if that is a goal that's happening, and there are forces that are driving that goal to begin with, and now we're allowing AI to determine what forms and to what degree the geoengineering is happening, we may be looking at something much bigger than I think many people have thought of in the past. I just wanted to run that by and see what you think.
Wow, that's a fascinating idea, and I've been thinking about this in the last week or so. I've read a very interesting article, a lengthy article by Bernard Gunther, who is a fascinating thinker from out I guess he's in Sedona now, which starts to raise these whole questions about essentially the sentience of the forces of the AI. Well, let me see. It's kind of is the AI already part of an alive kind of an initiative that's going on at a higher level, at a simulation, at an AI simulation that perhaps is describing this whole environment and this universe as we know it. And it's interesting to me that these ideas are all of a sudden showing up in my life, at least from a number of different kind of directions, because my experience has been, or at least that's the way I interpret it, is that these things show up for a reason. They've always, in retrospect, been useful and provocative and very helpful at the time, if you see them as such, or if you take advantage of them, or so I think you got to think about this kind of stuff, and it's almost as though it's just opening. It starts off by looking at it in just geopolitical or some other World Economic Forum, some kind of humanistically defined kind of sense that has conventional objectives, power and control, whatever, and maybe political control, or the banks are trying to do this. But then, in the last this has been part of some of our discussions in the last couple of months. It's suddenly starting to open up into these larger kind of areas. Our colleague Penny Kelly is talking about an extraterrestrial kind of group that might be trying to make a move on to dominate this planet, and what we see going on all around us is an exhibit of what they're doing. Well, it's also what you just talked about as similar kind of overtones, and you just say, well, wait a second, there's something really, really, really a whole lot bigger than anything that we thought about that's in play here.
John, when we really begin to understand, when you look at the research, the peer-reviewed science, not the pop science, when it comes to biology and human brain and neural platforms and things like that, what we begin to see is that human consciousness and our thoughts don't originate in our brain. And I think this goes back to some of the research that was done, back in the 80s and 90s with the holographic brain and things like that. The bottom line is the neurons in the brain, we direct those neurons in terms of how they wire and fire together. We build our neural networks, but when we do that, those neural networks are the antenna that are tuning us to information. So it is our desire to learn a foreign language, or our desire to learn a piece of music, or to solve a mathematic problem that drives the building of the network, the neurons wiring and firing together. We do that. And once we do that, now we are tuned to the place in the field where that kind of information exists. And that principle applied to AI. Now that we're building new chips, new kinds of chips that are working on very different principles, and then bringing those chips together as neural networks, what are they tuning to in the field, in addition to what information are they sharing among themselves? I don't know that the chip manufacturers are thinking this way, but if there is an intelligence, we know there are many levels of intelligence in the cosmos. Yeah. And the desire, when you look at the big picture, the politics that are in place right now are driving us toward a planet that's not good for us. Yeah. So the lower CO2 levels are not good for us. The geologic record shows that. The lower temperatures, those CO2 levels, if we reached 185 parts per million, which is one of the UN goals, we would be 10 degrees cooler, more ice, fewer forests, all of that. It's not good for us.
We couldn't grow.
So is it possible that the alien or off-planet intelligence that wants this planet and that wants to dominate our world, we're actually opening the door to allow that intelligence to drive the geoengineering to accomplish what they're doing under the guise of climate control and mitigating the bad, what we're being told are the bad effects of a climate change right now.
I can't remember it right now, but there was a wonderful film that was very enlightening and had all kinds of new pictures and ideas about how reality could work. And if we did that, I mean, there's a good writer and screenwriter out there somewhere that's got a marvelous idea for almost a science fiction-y kind of notion about how you get here. And I'd love to work on something like that.
Well, John, I'd love to see you be the Neo in that new film.
You don't need me doing that. But anyway,
well,
I
appreciate
it's a wonderful opportunity for all of us. And I mean, and I really appreciate these conversations because it extracts ideas, it fertilizes a space and allows for the emergence of these new perspectives and new ideas. And
that's why I think it's worthwhile doing some of these interviewing for some of these documentaries. There's some we try to vet the opportunities. If it's just going to be another talking heads, it's probably not worthwhile. But what I'm finding, John, this is interesting. There is a new wave of young people who early in their lives, and when I say young people, they're now in their 30s, early in their lives, they were conditioned through the climate narratives that are driving so much of the geoengineering, things like that. And they now have awakened to the fact that this is not the true story.
Right.
And they've done a 180, and now they want to share that with other people their age. And I think that's maybe one of the places where this awareness really comes through.
Yeah. And what you really need, though, and what's really important to have this coherent kind of new paradigm, this new kind of framework that explains a new way in which life and reality could operate that everybody can buy into and become a part of. It's unlike the Matrix, where even though the idea is really big and kind of they motivate people like me, most people still think of it as entertainment or at best, a thought game of one sort or another. What we need is something where people can literally start some heroic event story that says we can get here and we can build a new world and we can get from here to there and we can become somebody new. And, that galvanizes, that would be a catalytic kind of event that would bring a whole lot of people together and give them a whole new idea.
Well, that's what I love about these conversations, Sean. Our homework is cut out for us now.
Yeah. And we're looking forward to having you with us here in Berkeley Springs at Transition Talks on the 26th of August. So our viewers that can join us by live stream, we've sold out the Star Theater, which is the biggest venue in the county. And so it's live stream now, and there's plenty of room for anybody, and it'll be all day long. So it'll be great fun. You can get complete information at transitiontalks.org. We hope that you can join us, and we hope that you'll come back and be with us next time on What's Up here. If you like this, please share it and subscribe, and punch the little button that says you like it, because the algorithms that make the effectiveness of all of this there are no humans in this anymore. They're the machines that are just looking for those. And so when you subscribe or when you punch that thing, they watch and they listen and they kind of decide that you really liked it and they ought to do something different. So if you can do that, that would really be helpful to help make this all happen. So Gregg, thanks. Appreciate it as always. Good fun.
Thank you so much, John. Thank you for everybody behind the scenes at Arlington Institute. I look forward to being in Berkeley Springs in just a few weeks. Thank you, everybody, for watching. I look forward to our next.
Yeah. Thank you, my friend.